I recently did a poll on the channel asking all of you what the most frustrating part of the entire hiring process is. And while your answers varied quite a bit, many of you said that the waiting game is the most frustrating part of this. The waiting game meaning the time between different phases of the hiring process, or just waiting to hear back from the department of whether or not they're going to hire you, what the next step is, when the next step is. So in this video, I want to give you some actual things that you can take away, things that you can be doing, and ways that you could be preparing yourself to deal with the frustrating, long, boring waiting game. So the first thing I want you to do has to deal with your mindset. Whenever you finish a certain process or a certain step of the hiring process, or maybe you're at the end and you're waiting to hear whether or not you actually got hired, I want you to pretend like you'll never hear from that department again. And I know that can be disheartening and may be very difficult, especially if it's a department you've been preparing for a long time, or you really have your heart set on this one department. But I want you to pretend like you'll never hear from them again, because it's going to force you to move on. Meaning, you need to be, throughout this entire process, testing, applying, interviewing, doing as much as you can at as many departments as you possibly can. Now, there's going to be certain people out there that are going to say, you shouldn't be doing that. You should pick a department and stick with it and apply until you get hired, because you should feel honored and lucky if they decide to hire you. And that is nonsense. This is a very competitive field, especially when you're trying to get into career firefighting, and you need to have as many lines in the water, as hooks in the water as you possibly can to get hired on a department. Now, of course, it's fine if you have one department that you really want above all others. That's usually the case with everybody. But in the meantime, you need to get your foot in the door. And so that means whenever you finish a phase, you just need to pretend like you're never going to hear from them again and look for the next department to apply to, test at, so on and so forth. Now, the next thing I want you to do, whether this be after your interview, your test, whether you're waiting to hear back of whether or not you've been hired, is I want you to follow up. Now, some departments will be good about this. Many are terrible about communicating with potential candidates. After you finish a phase, they may or may not tell you that you can expect to hear from us in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, however long. But a lot of them won't do that. And when they won't do that, what I recommend is you follow up, and whatever, let's say you finish your interview, give it 3 weeks if you haven't heard from them. And on the beginning of week 3, I would call the department or whoever the point person is, maybe it's an HR person, a secretary, whoever it is, and just follow up with them. And when you call and follow up, just call them, politely say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I was a candidate and I applied. I just interviewed 3 weeks ago on this date. I was calling to follow up and see if there was any new news and if there's anything else you needed from me. Now, nobody's going to take offense at that. Nobody's going to be upset at that. Nobody's going to dislike you, and that's not going to hurt your chances. What will hurt your chances, though, because this process can be frustrating, is if for some reason, because you're so frustrated or they don't give you an answer that you want, you get an attitude, or you are somehow short or mean or rude with this person. This person probably has no idea who you are and no idea where they're at in the phase of the process. So whatever you do, make sure you're polite. If you're impolite, they will remember who you are, and that will get passed along. So when you do follow up, do be polite. The next thing I would recommend that you do is take a look at this video right here on this channel, where I talk about 14 different things that you should be doing on probation. The reason being, any department you apply to is eventually when you get hired, you are going to have to go through probation. Now, technically on probation, you are a part of the department, but you're still kind of in that limbo period where you can be fired for any reason at any time at their discretion. So it's still kind of a test for you. And between those phases, or maybe you're waiting to hear what the final word from this department is going to be, I want you to begin studying the maps, right? If whatever city or district or wherever you apply to, you're going to need to learn the maps, the roads, the streets, the back areas of that particular area. Now, obviously, you're not going to have access to their engines and their trucks and whatever other equipment they may have, so you're not going to be able to study that equipment per se. But what you will be able to do is prepare and use a lot of those things from that video to get yourself in the right mindset and get yourself to understand. Now, I know I said early in this video that you need to pretend as though you'll never hear from that department again, but if you have a really good feeling that you're going to get hired at a department, you need to start learning as much as you can. And over the course of the 2, 3, 4, 6 months, that you're waiting to hear back from this department, you're not going to learn everything that you need to know when you're on probation, so it's a good thing to get a jump on it. And then finally, the last thing is you really need to make sure that you stay fit. And I know that might sound obvious to a lot of you, but you really need to stay fit, especially if you're applying to a larger department where at the end of this hiring process, they're going to be sending you to their fire academy. The fire academy has, I don't want to say a large dropout rate, but there are people probably in every single fire academy class that just don't make it. You don't want to put in all this time and effort and work and then get to a fire academy and then realize that you're not fit enough to make it to the next level. Now, obviously, they have an interest in making sure that you can get through, but fire academy instructors have no problem failing people and kicking them out if they don't think that you're going to be able to handle the job and you are going to be a detriment to the department and your crew. So make sure you stay fit, make sure you stay ready. I also have another video on this channel that talks about what you can expect in a fire academy if you've never been to one. So check that out and make sure you stay up on those things as well. So as always, I hope you guys found this useful. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell. I am doing lives on this channel now where you can jump in and ask any questions really related to firefighting, fitness, really anything that you want to talk about. I'll spend an hour or two online and answer as many questions as I possibly can. And a lot of people have found that very helpful. I'm doing them fairly regularly now, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next video.